He gritted his teeth as he dragged the brown bag behind him. "You know, this would go a little bit faster if you'd help out some more, Tyler," he said. Tyler looked over to him. "Well, I'm keeping a lookout though, Jeremy," he said. Jeremy spun on his heel to glare at him. "Yeah, and you don't see me doing that too?" He took a quick glance around before continuing. "Just because you're doing that doesn't mean you can't help though, you know." Jeremy fixed his gaze back to Tyler before continuing once more. "Now help me move the body before we really do end up getting caught." "I have a better idea," Tyler said. Jeremy looked at him with an expression of pure bewilderment. "Are you serious? We don't have time for this." Tyler nodded his head in response. "Yes, I do. Why don't I go on ahead and scout, the area ahead of us, just to make sure there's no one there? We are taking her to a lake, aren't we? There could be people lurking about, which would cause us some issues. Don't worry, I'll run back this way in case I do find somebody else." Jeremy sighed. "Fine. Just make sure you don't drop your damn phone this time so that we can keep communication." Tyler did a small salute before exclaiming, "Aye aye, Captain." Then he rushed ahead. Jeremy shook his head. Letting out another sigh, he spoke again. "At least this time I'll get some peace and quiet," he said. He looked around the dark forest once more, taking in his surroundings. Jeremy froze as he noticed a small shape in the distance. It looked like something that may be poking out from behind one of the trees. At least that's what he thought. He panicked, thinking that he had finally been caught by somebody, but relaxed a little as he realized there were a couple more tinier shapes atop that one, and he believed it to be an animal. He shook his head, then, grabbing the large brown bag, he began dragging it along once more. As Jeremy walked, he began to wonder if Tyler was right to actually be keeping a lookout like that. He wasn't sure if they really were being followed. The idea terrified him. He was not in the mood to get arrested. Not yet. That would spoil his fun. Then what the heck would he do? Be stuck behind bars, bored. He tried not to dwell on it too much, but he couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on him as he walked deeper and deeper into the woods. He continued darting his eyes around from tree to tree as he moved, halting once more as he made out another shape just ahead of him in the dark. This one was a little bit closer than the last one he saw, making it slightly easier to make out some of the features. Staring at the thing hidden amongst the shadows, he thought that this time he could make out two large triangles atop the shape. He let out a sigh of relief as a realization came to him. It really was just an animal. A curious fox, if he had to take any guesses? He jumped a little as the shape suddenly ducked away behind another tree, and the sounds of leaves crunching beneath something began to get further and further away. "Must have lost interest or something," Jeremy said. He stared down at the bag, looking thoughtfully at the red spots that aligned it. "I can't wait for this to be over," he muttered under his breath. Little time passed before Jeremy had finally reached his destination. Stopping atop the hill, he looked down at the huge body of water below. He suddenly jolted in surprise as his phone began vibrating in his pocket. Quickly he ripped it out, looking down to see the name Tyler illuminating on the screen. He pressed the answer button before raising it to his ear and saying, "Hello?" "Hey, my brah!" Tyler shouted through the speaker. This caused Jeremy to violently pull his head away from the speaker before stating, "Geez, quiet down. And when did you start using the word bruh?" Tyler laughed a little. Since, I don't know. Whenever. So, I checked out the lake now. I don't really see anyone around here. So I think we're definitely good to go. I also found a pretty good spot, too. Jeremy narrowed his eyes as he scanned the lake. Alright, give me a second. I'm just at the top of the hill. Okay, well, see you then, Tyler called out before suddenly hanging up. Jeremy shook his head. Placing his phone in his pocket, he spoke. Weirdo. Jeremy crept down the slope. As he did, he cradled the bag in his arms. Beads of sweat slid down his face with every step he took. He made it about halfway down the hill before suddenly something slipped from beneath him, sending him tumbling down the hill. At once he released the bag, letting it roll as he struggled to stop himself. Finally, he flopped down against the flat earth, skidding a few inches with a loud oomph as he did. Jeremy raised himself a little bit as he heard something smack against the earth in front of him. He looked up to see a small rectangular object lying amongst the leaves. Fully picking himself up, he walked over. Leaning down, he grabbed a hold of the small box, flipping it over to see a cracked screen. Tyler gritted his teeth in irritation as he looked down at it. Is this Tyler's phone? Oh, that son of a bitch! Not only did he drop the damn device, Jeremy ended up slipping on it on the way down. Oh, he is dead the next time I see him, Jeremy said before pocketing the phone and moving on. Jeremy continued pulling the bag along. Then he stopped as he heard Tyler call out to him. Hey, you're finally here. Took you long enough. Jeremy scowled as he looked up at the trees ahead where Tyler's voice had come from. Yeah, thanks for leaving your phone for me to trip over, you jackass, he said. Yeah, whatever. Come on already, I got the perfect spot, Tyler called back. Jeremy growled under his breath as he began to move forward once more. As Jeremy ambled along, he cursed under his breath. This kill was supposed to be easy, but no. There they were, hours later, still dragging the body along. Annoying. He paused as he stumbled upon a trail of what looked to be red just ahead of him. Is that blood? He muttered under his breath. Tyler, did you take out somebody else? He called out. Tyler did not respond. Tyler, he called out once more. Jeremy pulled out his phone and flicked the light on, illuminating what was around him. Pointing the light downward, he looked down at the substance. Yeah, it definitely looked like blood, or at least something red. His eyes widened in shock as he followed the trail and found what lay at the end of it. What the fuck? He said as he looked at the still body of Tyler lying on the ground. His terror grew as he looked at Tyler's throat, ripped wide open, the scarlet liquid gushing from the open wound and pooling beneath the body. Jeremy took a step back as he stared at the still corpse. Before he could take another, the sounds of rushing footsteps came from behind him before he was suddenly tackled straight to the ground, something sharp piercing his back. Jeremy gritted his teeth as his attacker began to twist the blade against his spine. He let out a shriek of pain as the sound of bones snapping echoed through the cold night air. Jeremy lay there for a moment, panting, before the weapon was suddenly yanked out, causing him to let out another painful wail of agony. Jeremy let out even more heavy breathing as he lay there, his confusion beginning to rise as he heard the laughing of Tyler from just behind him. What the hell is going on? He thought as the giggling continued. Tears filled his eyes as he was forcefully rolled over. Jeremy gritted his teeth as more hot pain rushed up half of his back. Jeremy lifted himself up with his elbows. Then he tried to move his legs. He paused, his eyes widening in horror as he realized he was paralyzed. That fear he felt only increased as he looked up to see the source of the laughter. Looming over him was a young teenage girl with long, dark red hair. One sky blue eye stared down at him mockingly from beneath the hood of a bright red jacket. Her left hand was placed over her mouth as she continued to giggle, the other one clutching what looked to be a Skinner. Her voice slowly changed to a higher pitch as she removed her hand, revealing a set of razor-sharp, fox-like teeth covered in blood. Blood that dripped down her chin and onto her black shirt and skirt. As she smiled down at him, the girl began to slowly remove her hood, revealing two large, cherry-colored fox ears tipped in black. Jeremy began to inch backward as he saw her other eye, pure black, with glowing bright red pupil staring down at him. What the fuck are you? He asked as he slowly backed away. The girl didn't respond and just simply crouched until she was on all fours, her wide, psychotic eyes fixed on Jeremy as she did. She began to crawl forward, her head twitching every so often, that smile of hers never fading. Jeremy's gaze shifted as he noticed something wagging back and forth just behind the girl. He looked to see a large, bushy foxtail, the color the exact same as her ears. "Please, just leave me the hell alone," he said. The girl paused before snickering and saying, "You talk too much." She then pounced on him, driving the blade of her Skinner into his eye as she tackled him back down. Jeremy howled in pain as she held him down. He struggled as best he could, but her strength was so unnatural. As Jeremy tried to fight back, the girl spoke once more. "Don't worry," she whispered. "Your voice box won't be lost, because I'll put it to better use." Those are the last words he heard before she suddenly sank her teeth in his throat.